Hello everyone, this is Professor Maloney, and today I'm creating a little video. The video will be somewhere between 25 and 40 minutes. Normally my videos take longer than I plan, so when I say 25 to 40, it's more likely that it will be longer than 25 minutes, but one way or the other. All it is an introduction to the class with an emphasis on your requirements. It's going to be a very difficult class, but let me just kind of talk about that. And I'm going to share my screen in a few minutes where I then show you some of the things that are in the class and some of the things that the class is going to prepare you for, right? Every class has learning competencies. Every class has course outcomes. And I want to make sure that you understand what we want to be able to help you achieve this term. But at the same time, I want to emphasize that this is a very, very challenging class. And there are 2 certification exams in this class. Obviously, the term is more or less 16 weeks, but this is now the 2nd day of class. Quite a few of you missed the 1st day of class. If you missed 3 class sessions in this class, I reserve the right to drop you, okay? And I most likely will. I mean, I drop students that do not attend my classes regularly. And my logic is that just like if you have a job and you go into your job X number of days a week for X number of hours a day, what happens if you don't show up? Are you fired? Probably not. Probably not. But most companies have a policy, and the policy talks about what you must do before something might happen. So in this case, in this class, I'm the manager. And my class, I reserve the right to drop students if they miss 3 different class sessions. So students that either join the class a day late, and then they have it put on their syllabus, but it's a day late, or students that were already in the class but did not attend the first class. Either way, that's an absence. So it's an absence. So those students have 1 absence. Hopefully they won't have any more. Similarly, if you attend class late, if you come to class late, I count 3 lates as an absence. When do late start? Well, class starts at 4:10, so late start at 4:11. You have to be in class on time. There's no excuses. I'm very, very big on things like that, and some students like it because they know that being pushed, you're more apt to succeed. Some students don't like it because they feel like, well, I'm an adult and I should be treated like an adult. I do whatever I want to do, but I'll make an A. I'll earn an A. Well, I mean, hopefully that's the case. But again, this is my class, and I'm not trying to be rough. I'm not trying to pretend to be, a difficult professor. But at the same time, I want to make sure you understand that I want every student in every class I teach to make an A. That's always my goal, okay? And historically, if you go back and check, well, you can't go back and check my records, but you can probably, if you're at some of those sites that rate professors, you can probably find that many students have taken my classes. Many students have made A's in my classes. Many students will say my classes are easy. But everything is easy if you do things. If you do the things necessary to make an A in it, right? So let's talk about this class specifically. So this is a Cloud Essentials class. Cloud Essentials is talking about working in the cloud from the corporate perspective, from the perspective of businesses. All of us in this class use the Google Cloud, right? All of us in this class, or a lot of us in this class, use OneDrive. All of us in this class, or a lot of us, use Dropbox, or perhaps use Box, or perhaps use the IBM cloud, or a number of other clouds these days, okay? But there's a big difference between using the cloud where we're just storing a file, okay, versus using the cloud to replace your data center, meaning for a business replacing their data center, or using the cloud as a complement to your existing data center to reduce costs, reduce expenses. So there's things like that, and that's what this class is all about. So out of the cloud, there's all these different companies working to obviously sell their products. That's what they want to do. They want every company to use their product. In this case, Amazon, AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, would like every company in the US, every company in Canada, every company in the world to use AWS cloud services, okay? And literally every company in the world, if they used Amazon Web Services, if they fully used it, and if they were a big enough company to have an investment, an existing investment in the data center that they perhaps are already using, if you use AWS, you're going to save money. Some companies will save over 80% if they use AWS, okay? AWS has been the leading business cloud provider now since basically the inception of businesses using data centers in the cloud, okay? So let's start with, why would a business want to use a data center in the cloud as opposed to the data center they have within their building? Or perhaps they have a data center outside their building, but within 5 or 10 miles, so that the admin people from the building can access, the bosses, if you will, from the building can access the data center anytime they have a question as to what wasn't happening, or what, why didn't those items get processed last night? Why did we not do this? Why could the accounting department not see this file that they have on our server? Things like that. And the questions become more and more important as a company gets larger, right? Because if you get big, you have to have a lot of computers acting as a network. So let's talk about what is a network for a few minutes. So I'm at my home. This is my home office right here, okay? I have my desktop. I have a second monitor for my desktop. I have my CPU. I have my keyboard. I have a Windows computer. My wife, her PC is on the other side of that chair there. She has a Windows PC as well. We use Xfinity for our Wi-Fi, but also, of course, for our wired. So I use, an RJ45. That's the old hardwired internet connection, or let's say server connection. Okay, and my wife does as well. But I also have a Surface, Microsoft Surface tablet. I also have a Lenovo tablet. Okay, Lenovo ThinkPad laptop, sorry. My wife has 2 laptops, one for her work and one for home. So that's now 2 desktops. In my case, a tablet and a laptop. In my wife's case, 2 laptops. So that's 2 and 2 is 4 and 2 is 6. Our son Caleb still lives at home. Caleb is 22. He's a science teacher in Broward County. He started this past August, so he started at age 21. And by the way, I want to talk about that too, because I like to encourage students with things that hopefully they can relate to. So I've got a 22-year-old son. His degree is from University of Central Florida. He graduated in December 2021 at age 21. And his degree is a Bachelor of Science in Forensic Science. He also has a minor in chemistry. And as of this past August, he is a full-time teacher at a middle school in Broward County, where he teaches grade 7 science. Okay. He also actually gave an idea to the principal about a month ago saying that he would like to add a forensic science component to the class, and could they do that? And the principal loved the idea. They talked about, to the big wigs, if you will, with Broward County Public Schools, can we offer an elective in forensic science? And they're going to implement that, and Caleb's going to run that, and he's going to do that as an 8th grade teacher for that particular class next year. But anyway, so that's my son Caleb. My son Jared, or our son, my wife and I, of course, we've been married 26 years. So my wife and I, our first son is Jared, and Jared is 25. He graduated from the same school, University of Central Florida, in December of 2020. So Jared graduated at age 22. And in his case, his degree was a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering. So I bring that up because I have a son, just like you guys are like my sons and my daughters, if you will. I mean, I'm not the youngest person in the room, right? So I want you to be successful. So my son, Jared, accepted a job offer as a Marine Systems Engineering Officer with the Royal Canadian Navy last September 3rd or 4th. And he's now stationed at Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is a beautiful, beautiful, smallish city, but beautiful, on the North Atlantic Ocean, where it's cold, but beautiful. And he's a Marine Systems Engineering Officer. Since he got into the program, he then graduated in December, so September to October, November, December, 3 months later, he graduated from their Canadian Forces Leadership Program, and he's graduated as now an acting sub-lieutenant, which in the States would be acting sub-lieutenant. Commonwealth countries, it's normally, rather than lieutenant, it's lieutenant. But anyway, and he's well on his way to a great career in the Royal Canadian Navy. So Caleb is well on his way to a great job at this point as a science teacher, and I'm sure he's going to be working on his master's degree. He's been talking about it since he got out, and then either move on to high school teaching, although he technically can teach as a high school teacher, with a Bachelor of Science degree in forensic science as well. But anyway, so that's his plan at this point. And then Jared at this point is happy with what he's got, and he knows, and he's been told that told by the bosses at his company that his thing, he's going to be in many, many, many science, math, advanced kinds of math classes, because he's the Marine Systems Engineering Officer. So in the next X number of years, he's going to be flying back and forth to different areas in Canada and in other countries as well, especially Commonwealth countries. So he's going to be going to Victoria, British Columbia in mid-February, so in about a month. And he's, again, only been with the company 4 months. And by the way, he's been home since December the 18th. And he leaves, he's still home right now. He's leaving to go back to Halifax via Toronto this coming Friday the 13th. So, and that's literally 4 weeks. And he's only been with the Royal Canadian Navy 4 months. So he obviously did very, very well. Anyway, so that's that. So I want the same for you guys. Okay, every one of you can be extremely successful. And I'm certain every one of you will be extremely successful. But you have to work hard, right? You have to work hard. Okay, so getting back to what I was just saying before I went into my kids, talking about the kids. So I said, I have a desktop, I have a tablet, I also have a laptop. My wife has a desktop. She has 2 laptops in our home, okay? So that is 6 computers that are on our Xfinity router. All right, then my son Caleb, who lives here, he has a MacBook Pro that he uses. So that's a 7th computer on our network. And my son Jared, when he's here, has his laptop. And he's got a Lenovo ThinkPad as his laptop with the Royal Canadian Navy. So that's, I think it's now 8, I said. We only have 1 printer. Okay, the printer is right here. So we have 1 printer that obviously can be shared with those 8 computers, right? So the point, though, is that when you have, especially a home network, you're dealing with, perhaps 2, 3 computers, perhaps 1 printer. You move up to like us, where we have maybe 8 or even 9 computers. Then perhaps you need a second printer, if nothing more than as a backup in case you have issues with the toner or anything else. So those things happen, right? Then we can share things between computers on the network, right? We can have files on my computer that my wife can access. We can have files on hers that I can access. We can have, between the kids as well. That's how they access the printer. The printer is physically hooked up to this computer, my desktop. But anyway, so point being that, right? All right, so now, again, flip back to it's a business. So what does a business have? Well, even a small business has, for sure, 3 or 4 computers, right? And if they got 10 or 15 employees, then it may be up to 10 or 15 computers. But there might also be a server. What would a server computer be? Well, a server computer is normally one when it's at a company level as opposed to a home, although I could have a server computer here as well. But a server is where all the shared content is that the network wants to control. So the controlled access is via a server. What could be in a server? Well, obviously, if we have an accounting department, we could have the accounting files stored on that server. And only certain people from accounting, as well as perhaps the data, call them the data manager, data center manager, data center analyst, perhaps they have access to it as well. So the point again is though, how do companies work, right? So if they've got an HR department, then they have to have a payroll system. The payroll system might be done on site, might also be done with companies that do that. ADP, I think it used to stand for automated data processing. Perhaps it was automatic. I think automated data processing, ADP. They actually are like an Amazon Web Services or a Microsoft Azure or a Google Cloud or an IBM Cloud, in that they provide services that they own. And in this case, they're payroll services. And they go out to the companies and say, hey, you know what? Are you running your own payroll? And in the old days, of course, every company would say, oh, yeah, it's a nightmare, but yes, we're running it. They would say, we have a service. And of course, 20 years ago, it was a brand new service. But we can offer you our payroll services, which will be managed by us. You don't have to worry about it. We'll store the data. We'll modify the data. We'll allow you to access the data. Anything you need to be done to that data, we, ADP, will do it for you. Okay. And of course, there's other companies that compete in that space. Normally we call these things spaces. So that is something that happens, right? So in the case of AWS, then AWS got all these businesses, or they started getting all these businesses. They thought, you know what? Why don't we, first of all, put our, meaning AWS, Amazon, at that point it was called Amazon, just like Amazon, they have Alexa, they have Amazon Echo, they have the Amazon, God knows, the bookstore. That's what they started with 20 or so years ago. And, they have all these products, they have all these things that they sell. And everybody would assume that that's where they make their money. Well, you can Google it if you will. But Amazon makes the vast majority of their money from AWS, Amazon Web Services, okay? And they became so successful telling companies what? Well, it wasn't, we can process your payroll. It was, you don't need that data center. We can put that data center in the cloud, okay? So, wow, you got a data center up now in the cloud. What does that mean, right? And of course, they had to start then hiring people that went through their system, understood, so technical people that were able to then convey to the marketing department or wherever, they have their people that sell things to people. In this case, so they had to obviously have a department that would sell things to businesses. Hey, business A. Hey, business B. How much do you spend a month? Processing all those checks, processing all those reports, processing all those products that you have in your databases. How much do you spend a month for that? And by the way, what happens if that server or those servers go down? What if you're in South Florida and you have an outage in South Florida, especially in the summer, every other day, literally for 10 or 20 minutes. Sometimes if it's a bad one, a couple hours. In our case, like in where I live, we live in a development, like many of you live in developments. And excuse me, the development obviously tries to, again, sales, right? Everything is sales. So I have a community, it's in Chapel Trail in Broward County. Okay? Chapel Trail has thousands of homes, okay? And once again, companies started getting smart and saying, hey, you know what? Why don't we offer special rates to things like that, right? It's just like, when you have a company buying more products, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to give them a deal. So in the case of this, Amazon could give them a deal. AWS, their Amazon Web Services, could give companies a deal if they move things online, because what? Everything is cheaper, if you will, more cost effective if you can buy more off it, right? So that means Walmart, as an example, should be able to sell things cheaper than Publix. Publix should be able to sell things cheaper than I don't know, the little corner stores, the convenience stores. Walmart is obviously big in that regard, but do they? They're all smart, right? Costco. My wife loves to go to Costco. I prefer the Walmart thing, but my wife goes to Costco maybe once a month to buy big ticket items, big ticket but home items. I use Walmart's app to put in our orders online, and then I go pick it up. Don't have to, but I do that just because, again, technology, right? So anyway, AWS went out and started selling their businesses to businesses. And these businesses were saying, wow, right? Because they really, really, in some cases, got to shut their entire data center down. So that's usually what we call a capital expenditure. Capital expenditures are things that, like, it would be equivalent to buying a house, if you will, if you're from the perspective of a business. And if you then don't have that huge capital expenditure outlay, then you're only renting the equipment, what we call pay for what you need, pay as you go. Okay, so companies can use AWS. And when I say AWS, by the way, again, I mean AWS, but also Azure, which is Microsoft, also Google Cloud, and there are several others. Actually, about a half dozen others, fairly big. But Amazon's the biggest, by the way. AWS, more or less 40% of the market. Microsoft Azure, more or less 20% of the market. So 40 and 20 is 60%, somewhere there. Google Cloud, probably 8, 9. So then say 60 and 8 is 68 or so percent. IBM Cloud, maybe 3 or 4. And so that's only in the 71, 72. So there's still 28% of the businesses. And every one of those businesses, though, wants to get each other's business. Everybody wants to be, the biggest. Well, AWS is still the biggest. They were the starter. So they're the one that brought all this, to where it is today. So anyway, this is where companies make their money. So can kids like you guys make money in the cloud? Oh, yeah. You can be, you get certifications. Everything's about certifications. So this professor here, the one teaching this class, in AWS, I have 2 certifications. I've got the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, and I have the AWS Solutions Architect Associate, okay? Microsoft Azure has, well, so let me tell you a couple of my other certifications also, and all these done in the last 4 years, by the way. And obviously, again, I'm not the youngest man in the world, but I was able to get those 2 certifications. I also got the Google IT Automation with Python Professional certification in the last 4 years. So that's 3 certifications in 4 years. And these days, Python's really, really big too. So getting that certification is very, very nice. And then I got 2 IBM certifications, and both with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence these days is huge. So I've got the AI Design Practitioner with IBM, and the other one, God, I forget the name of it, but it's another IBM. It's practitioner AI. Anyway, it's in AI and it's IBM. So that's 2 and 3 is 5 certifications in less than 5 years. It's like 4 years, maybe now 4 years in a couple months. And look at me, okay? Then look at yourselves. You're young. All of you are in a technology class. Some of you are in high school. So congratulations on that, by the way. But if you're in high school, you obviously have your high school classes. You have your dual enrollment classes. But you're all intelligent people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do this, right? So my point is, use me not so much as a mentor, but at least think of me as, if someone, an adult who's been working obviously for quite a few years, can get certifications at his age, then logically I can too. And you guys, you young people, can get, especially in the cloud. So if you're interested in my personal opinions, so cloud technologies absolutely will be growing. Okay. Amazon, again, AWS, but it's Amazon. Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, especially. They're hiring. Okay. So that's big things. But also, you want to make sure that you work to figure out what you're doing. In other words, getting a certification is great, but you have to know what you're doing. Why? Because technology changes all the time, right? 4 years ago, we never used Python. Well, now we're using Python at Miami-Dade College. 4 years ago, we weren't officially teaching the cloud at Miami-Dade College, but some people can see the writing on the wall, and they put together at MDC a cloud computing work group. I'm on that cloud computing work group. I was one of the first on it. I believe at that point there were maybe 7 of us on it. Out of the 7, all of us, got the AWS Cloud Practitioner, and over the course of a year or 2 after that, everyone got the Solutions Architect Associate as well. I was the first one to get the Solutions Architect Associate, but I'm not suggesting I'm the smartest person at all. As a matter of fact, I'd say I'm definitely not, but I did get that certification first for our cloud computing work group. And since then, we've been running the AWS cloud. Then we added CompTIA's Cloud Essentials. But then with CompTIA, after a while, the state said, you know what, the CompTIA Cloud Essentials is we're not acknowledging that certification anymore. So then most campuses, meaning Miami-Dade College, we have 8 campuses. Most of the campuses are now using Microsoft Azure as a second certification. Some campuses only use 1 certification. So that's that. But now I'm going to stop showing me, okay, and talk, but with sharing my screen. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and then show you a couple other things. I want to show you both the course announcement, which I sent out to you guys at the beginning. I don't know why it's not pouring out of mine, but anyway. So I'm going to go to, let me go here, in our class. Okay, so in here, I'm going to go up to the top. Let me go to your view first of all. So this is your student, the student preview. So meaning when you come into our class in Blackboard, this is a Blackboard class. This is where you are. Okay, so the home page, what's on the home page? Well, primarily I just tell everyone this is just your announcements. Okay, so if I put something out here, it's very, very important. Let me maybe make this bigger. Actually, it's 125%. That should be pretty darn big. Hopefully you guys can all see this. If not, I'll apologize, but you on your end can zoom it up anyway. So I'm just going to read parts of this thing here, or perhaps the whole thing, because it is very, very important. So welcome to CTS 1145. It's in room D307 at the Homestead campus. So first of all, I want to let you know that this is a face-to-face in-person class. You're required to be in class every Tuesday and every Thursday. When did class start? Thursday, January 5. Today, when I'm making this video, it is Monday, January 9. That means 4 days ago was Thursday, January 5. What does that mean? It means that was the first class day. You were required to be here. If you're a high school dual enrollment student, you were still required to be in this class. Why? Because Miami-Dade College opened for the spring term on Wednesday, January the 4th. So if you're a dual enrollment student, you did not come to class Thursday, January 5th, you're marked as absent. Remember, that's 1 out of 3. 3 absences. In my class, you'd be dropped. All right. So what you need to do then, obviously, is work even harder. And this is an extremely difficult class. That's what I was saying at the very, very beginning of my overview here. And I'm going to continue talking about that subject. But anyway, so that's that. All right. So D307, the Homestead campus, is where you must be from 4:10 p.m. until 5:50 p.m. every Tuesday and every Thursday. I'm also going to be offering optional office hour sessions, okay, via the Collaborate Ultra live sessions link from the left navigation menu. So look over here, Collaborate Ultra Live. So here, if I click this link here, you're going to see live sessions. This link here, by the way, that I'm now hovering on, this is the class overview. When I make videos in Blackboard, they're made in the Collaborate Ultra live sessions link. So I'm using Collaborate Ultra as my video recording system. Okay, so this class overview, Professor Maloney, won't be shown as of 12:30 p.m. So in about 10 minutes, I got to already end this. Actually, I may let it go over because as long as I'm still here, it'll stay. All right. But anyway, that's not what I want to show you. This is what I want to show you. So CTS 1145, Spring 2023, optional office hour sessions from 3:10 p.m. until 3:40 p.m. All right. So that means you click this link here if you're not physically on campus, although you must be on campus at 4:10. So because this is leading up until 4:10, like 3:40 p.m. is a half an hour away from 4:10. At 3:40, I need to eat something. I do have diabetes, just to say that. So anytime I might or might not need something to eat, I obviously do that. But anyway, so 3:40, I plan to have something to eat prior to the 4:10 class. Okay, but this is not a required session. So this is number one. It's optional. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means if you have questions like, hey, professor, man, you marked me as absent, or you said that I'm absent because I missed the first class. Is it worth it for me to stay in this class? Or, hey, professor, I got a 60% on my bio post. I mean, what gives? What happened? What's going on here? And I'll say, hey, I give instructions. So if that's the instructions and you got a 60%, but I'll be glad to tell you why. Again, if you optional office hour session for it. And it should be optional office sessions because it's not an hour, right? And I only intended to do it as 30 minutes, but when I clicked my links, my setup, I accidentally made it as 3:10 to 3:40. So what am I saying? 3:10 to 3:40 is 30 minutes. Maybe it's my syllabus then says it the other way. 3:10, yeah, there's my half hour. I think my syllabus I must have, because somewhere in class on last Thursday I was talking about it being 40 minutes. But anyway, so this is optional, but if I click it, you'll see that every day, okay, that is, a Tuesday or Thursday are all written here. The only one that's not is 3/9. 3/9 is a Thursday in March, obviously, March 9. And that day there's no school. Again, this is Miami-Dade College if you happen to be a dual enrollment high school student. There's no class on March 9, not because it's a holiday, but because one day every spring term, all faculty, most staff are required to be at the Kendall campus in a whole bunch of different meeting rooms depending on what your major is. And we have literally 6 or 7 meetings that go from 8 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. So there are no classes. You might say, well, what about at night though? Our class is 4:10. Yeah, but that's our day, right? That's a full day. So on March the 9th, there's no class, but every other day there is classes, okay? And these are optional sessions. So if you just come over here, you click your Collaborate Ultra, and then you click the optional office hour sessions. And the one as an example, the next one is tomorrow, 1:10. So you would click this thing here, but see, not yet started. Not yet started for the one on the 12th. So this is Tuesday, the 10th, Thursday, the 12th, and then next week, a week after the 10th, obviously it's another Tuesday, week after the 12th, 19th is another Thursday, etc. Okay, so they're not required, but that's what they are. Okay, so now let's go to my course syllabus. All right. Oh, sorry, I didn't finish I wanted to show you that the rest of my announcement. Okay, let's see if again it's still large. Shows that it's on large, so I hope it's okay for you. Anyway, all right. So you must be in this class every Tuesday and every Thursday. All right. So and 3:10 to 3:40 again. I did write the optional here. Somewhere I have it for sure as 3:10 to 3:50. I'm now going to actually change that to make it 3:40, which is what I originally planned. Okay. Now next. By the way, there are 2 certification exams in this class. Okay, the first is on AWS. AWS is Amazon Web Services. The exam is called CLF-C01 Cloud Practitioner, Technically Certified Cloud Practitioner, which will take place during week 8. Date to be finalized in the next week or so, but most likely it will be Thursday. Most likely Thursday, March 2nd. Okay, Thursday, March 2nd. You're required to finish all of your AWS work on on February 19 or so. Okay, so February 19 is here, March 2 is here. All right, so you finish everything there. Then you have from the 19th through about the 1st at 11:59, well, technically the 2nd up until about 3 p.m. in the afternoon to prepare. Okay, so I'll read that part now. All right, so 2 certification exams. First one is on AWS CLF-C01. For that one, get ready for the exam on February 19th. Ah, gosh, I made a mistake. I think so. It's all right. Oh, all the assignments. Yeah, that's correct. All the assignments to get ready are due on Feb 19. That is true. That is true. And then from Feb 20 until March 1 or so, because I'm planning March 2, but my testing center has to be able to accommodate my request. So until March 1 or so, you're going to be studying very, very diligently to get ready for that certification exam, which will be on March 2 or so. And it's going to be at the MDC Homestead Campus Testing Center, which is in the building A. Okay. All right. Then starting on that day after your exam, okay. So your exam, by the way, is taken during class. So class is 4:10 to 5:50. The exam is going to be, I'm trying to have it set up with that department for March 2 at 4 p.m. Okay. And for the Certified Cloud Practitioner exam, I think you get 90 minutes. So it would go from 4 to 5:30 p.m. You'd have to for sure be there on time. And obviously, I'm going to tell you 100 times in between now and then, good luck, good luck. You can do it. You can do it. Okay. Then March 2, the next part of the class starts after that certification exam. Then that one is going to be a Microsoft Azure, and it's specifically AZ900, which is Azure Fundamentals certification. All right. So, and that exam is going to be on about April 26th or April 27th, whatever the last Thursday in April is. And again, it starts more or less March 2. So it's exactly the same way in that you get about 6.5 weeks for the first one and 6.5 weeks for this one, and then about a week and a half for each to study. But now remember, this is already January 9th. So the 6.5 is already less than 6 now, okay? Because that started on the Thursday last week. So there's an awful lot of work to do, okay? Now, also, so 2 certification exams, that's huge. But look at this. FYI is for your information. So as a FYI, or for your information, to let you know, to make an A in this class, you must pass both of the certification exams. That's a requirement. The only way to make an A in this class is to pass both of those certification exams. That means CLFC01 and AZ900. Okay? To make a B in this class, you must pass one of those 2 certifications. You must pass one. Every one of you can pass both. Let me emphasize that. I am 110% certain that you can pass both. But, and here's a very, very important but, it will take a lot of work. And here is where you guys meaning the students. So I'll just say if you are a dual enrollment high school student, you're obviously taking 5 or 6 high school classes. You are also dual enrollment, which means you're taking 1 or 2 or 3, perhaps even more, hopefully not, college classes at Miami-Dade College as a dual enrollment student. So that's an awful lot of classes, right? But for you to make an A, you must pass both of these certifications. How are you going to pass both of these certifications? Well, there's nothing short of time and effort. It's not a matter of me every day telling you, if you do this, you're going to pass the exam. Unfortunately, that's not the way it is. It takes a lot of work. Okay. If any of you have earned any certifications, especially IT certifications, and these days some high school students have, and of course the rest of the students that are not dual enrollment high school students, obviously in your case, you're taking anywhere from 2 to 4 college classes, and most of your college classes are probably in computer science or computer information technology or data analytics or cybersecurity, something that obviously entails using computers and studying on computers and studying about computers. So you're taking very, very difficult classes as well. And you have to put in enough time, and that's where time is always relative to yourselves, right? Some of you are extremely, extremely intelligent. And I'm not going to say, you know, who is and who is not. Obviously, everybody in this class, because they're in these kind of classes, you're all intelligent. That's a fact of life, okay? But you have to decide how much effort does it take for you to pass the certification exam. I'm suggesting that, well, I'll get to that after this. So to earn a C, or I'll just, in this case, I'm saying now you earn a C if you do not pass either of the 2 certification exams, but you do complete all the assignments all the knowledge checks, all the quizzes, all the lab exercises that are assigned to you. Okay, so you don't pass either certification exam, but you do all the requirements, you get a C in the class. You've earned a C. Okay, if you don't do all those, then you're down to the D or F. Nobody in my classes should make a D or F, obviously. And hopefully nobody will make a C. Okay, but that's how it is. And I want to make sure you understand it, because the drop date for this class is the 10th. Okay, it's the 10th, Tuesday the 10th. All right. All right. So now most of your work will be done at the Cloud Academy site for this class. Right? So there's a Cloud Academy site where we have given you access to everything you need to do in terms of knowledge checks, in terms of reading for the class, in terms of doing knowledge checks, which are quizzes, in terms of doing lab exercises, which are lab assignments, where you're doing things on the computer. And what are you doing, by the way, on these lab exercises? Well, remember, I said the whole point of the cloud, from the perspective of a business, is having employees that can put together a network in the cloud that's for a particular company. Might sound tremendously difficult, and it's tremendously challenging, but very easy to do as long as you work hard to understand the material. You can put together networks in the cloud, and you will be putting together networks in the cloud. You will be putting together a database in the cloud, and you will be. I mean, in terms of doing it as a lab exercise, okay? You'll be using VPMs, virtual private machines. You'll be using virtual private centers. You're going to be using a virtual private cloud. You're going to be dealing with things that are online in the cloud that help businesses out, okay? All right, so Cloud Academy. Now let me just open that up for you real quick. Well, let me just finish the rest of this now. So then I had a Zoom session in class, though, last Thursday. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out, though, because the D307 room had an issue with Zoom updates not installing correctly. So we have to get that taken care of. But anyway, that was with Mr. Roderick Moreland. He's a Cloud Academy rep for Miami-Dade College. He did do it on the phone, though. He talked to us on the phone, and he answered the questions from the students on the phone, meaning on my phone. I just put on the speakerphone so that we could accommodate. What happens with technology? Hey, sometimes you have to modify a change, do something to make something else work. All right. Okay. So that's that. To pass these exams takes a great effort. Okay. So here's where I'm talking about this thing here. So here's some of the things you need to do. It's strongly recommended that you pursue additional practice exams, white papers, free practice labs, and to read all the material provided to you during this time. Obviously, I just said Cloud Academy, but let me just type in here, CLF-C01 exam, I'll say prep. Okay, so just exam prep. So here we go. Now remember, when you click things, right, you click a link, there's going to be tons of links, and a lot of them are going to charge you. So don't take things like if it's an ad, unless you have something for free, right? Because we're paying for it. Miami-Dade College, and you can maybe say through your lab fee or whatever, perhaps you're paying some bit of money to the Cloud Academy, based on the arrangement we have with them. But my point again is just all these things, are sites that sell services, but sometimes they also offer services for free. So just remember, if you're getting something, here's actually Cloud Academy right here. So if I go, this is the link probably the link I'm actually going to be using. Yeah, here's Cloud Academy. So here's CLF-C01 certification prep. Let's see how long this one says 21 hours. The one I'm doing is 28 hours, 50 something minutes, more or less 29 hours. But while I'm here, let me talk about that. So the 29 hours that mine is, the training plan I've created for you guys is, and created, but from Cloud Academy material. You need to do that in class, outside of class, on the weekends, at night, whenever you need to, and as long as you need to pass. You could not, again, pretend this is 20, I'll say 30 hours, okay? I think mine is 20, the one I've set up is 29 hours and a certain number of minutes. So let's say it's 30 hours, okay? I suggest you need to do it 3 times outside of class. I really do. And that means outside of class, meaning if you're required to do it for 30 hours, even though you're doing that outside of class, sometimes you'll be doing it inside of class. But to do it another 3 times means what? Another 90 hours. 90 and 30 is what? 120 hours of prep. 120, if you divide that by 8 hours, 12 8s are 96, and there's still 24 more, which is another 3. So that means 15 weeks of working 8 hours a week just for this. But you only get 6 weeks. Now it's less than 6 weeks for this part of the class. So instead of 8 hours, you're probably going to have to double it to 16 hours a week to do this 3 different times. And that's no guarantee that you're going to pass, right? It just means you've then received the material necessary, but you have to put the effort in. It's not just completing the material, taking a practice quiz, taking a knowledge check, doing a lab. It's doing it, writing down notes, which means it can take a lot longer than just 30 hours, so that you're, achieving the best information or gaining the best information you can on it. Okay. I'm also going to encourage you guys to work in groups in the class. Have some people responsible for, as an example, putting together key terms for the whole class. It may end up being 200 key terms. Who knows? Others of you may be looking for white papers. White papers are like the difficult papers telling you what you've been learning in the class. And let me just see up here again, just as a tab, just to kind of show you. So I'll say CLF again, CLF C01, but now I'm going to say white papers, exam white papers maybe. Exam white papers. Let's see what pops up. Let's see, white papers is missing. Oh, but that's another thing you look for, by the way, obviously, sample questions, right? Amazon Pass for Success. This is, okay, so this might or might not have certain information, but it talks about, there's all these things are basically, dumps, PDF questions. All these things are helpful, okay? There's going to be lots of practice tests. But anyway, point being, again, material, and it's a matter of how you're going. You can't do it all yourself. You have to work very hard, but you have to work way more than the 30 hours that I'm saying is associated with the first part. That's the first 6 or so weeks of class. Then with Azure AZ900, same thing. I'm going to say it's going to be at least a 20-hour, class, and then the 20 hours, if you do it 3 times, but in 6 weeks, that's 60, and another 20 is 80. So divide 80 by 6, and 6 12s. 72, so it's 6 13s, that's 78, so it's more than 13 hours a week, to try to get ready, and that's still, there's no guarantees. So there's lots and lots and lots of things, okay? All right, so I'm going to get out of that thing and get out of this thing. Whoops, get out of that one. Get out of that one, but you can see, obviously, there's lots of material online about this class. All right, let me go to the syllabus now, and then I have to end this. All right, oops, syllabus in my content. All right, so that course syllabus, okay? First thing I'll do is just say that you can download the syllabus. It's also here, and at the end of the syllabus is the schedule of activities, okay? Now, the schedule of activities, you see the keywords here. You see how big this one is. This is also 125%, it says. Anyway, all right, so dates, topics, work due. Everything is subject to change, but basically week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, 5, 6, 7, down to 16, all right? So the first 8, so in week 8, I'm saying more or less, take AWS CLF C01 certification exam in the Homestead Campus Testing Center on Thursday, March 2 at 4 p.m. Bring your score to the class, okay? And then immediately, it's Microsoft Azure AZ900. And this technically will be set up here as well, okay? So AZ900 then from week 7 through 15. And then again, week 16, the last day, Thursday the 27th, 4 p.m. Take the AZ900 certification exam in the Homestead Campus Testing Center on Thursday the 27th at 4 p.m. Bring your score to the class, okay? So not going through all the details just so that you understand, right? But in general, so these are some of the topics for weeks 1, I'll say through 7 for AWS, all right? Even though you have to get all this from reading, from the lectures, from the labs, from the exercises, from the assignments. So introduction to cloud computing. What is cloud computing? I just kind of gave a little overview of that at the start of this discussion, this video here. So what are the core components of AWS global infrastructure? So a global infrastructure is obviously showing you how the cloud works. So remember I mentioned maybe 30 or 40 minutes ago in this this recording, that if you're working in Miami, your business is in Miami, what's going to happen, especially in the summer? There's going to be a lot of power outages. Okay. So if you don't have a backup generator, now how many companies can afford a backup generator? Not that many. And by the way, a lot of AWS clients are the small companies, are the medium companies. And these are companies that wouldn't typically have backup generators. Okay. But so what the global infrastructure is talking about is that if you look around the globe, there are, I think it's seven, what do we call them? North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia / New Zealand, and the Antarctic, whatever the heck they're called. Sorry. But anyway, what we're saying is all the big core components are placed into what we call availability zones, regions, edge locations, and regional edge caches. And the cache is C-A-C-H-E, yes, cache. So plural, it's caches. But meaning if you have, as an example, a business and that business is based in Miami, you can still have all your AWS work stored in Virginia, or stored in the US West Coast, or stored in mid-Canada, or stored in Europe 1, or Europe 2, or Asia 1, or Asia, or Australasia, meaning Australia, New Zealand, etc. down there, 1 or 2. So you can have your information stored and accessed in different locations to make your availability sometimes as high as the 6 nines of availability, which means basically that your services would be available 99.9999% of the time. 6 nines. In Miami, especially for smaller companies, at best, your availability is going to be 90%, probably a lot less than that. Not having that extra 9.99% is a huge amount, especially when this work would be cheaper. But again, we're going to be talking about this during the class. So these are the things happening though. But most of it I won't be talking about because it's impossible. You have to be reading it. You have to be working. That's why we want people, like for key terms, to understand that EC with the number 2 is elastic, and then compute cloud. 2 C's, that's why it's EC2. Okay. ECR, elastic container services. AWS, elastic beanstalk. So you know the AWS, elastic load balancing. All of these things are using the computers, using the networks to have it work best for companies. So compute is a big part of the cloud. Compute. Another big part of the cloud is storage. So in storage, there's several things. There's S3. S3 in this case, again, you can look at so it's 3 S's. So it's simple, and it's storage, and it's service. It's called S3. EC2, again, elastic compute cloud, instance storage. So this is storing information. Elastic block store, elastic file system. What is the Snow family? So there's all sorts of things with storage that you're going to come across. So we got compute, we have storage, we also have databases, and we also have networking. So in databases, there's several different types of databases, but the 2 most common are relational, which are SQL databases, and SQL means structured query language. And then there's NoSQL, which is no structured query language. Okay. And then there's Amazon's version of relational database systems, which means it's their version of a Oracle database or a Microsoft SQL Server type of database. Okay. And then there's the virtual private cloud. Okay. That means in the cloud, something that's there that can only be accessed virtually. So virtual private cloud, VPC. Network access control lists, NACL. Network address translation, security groups, DNS, which is domain name system. So there's so much, and that's only week 3. And I'm just putting in these weeks. Sometimes they're before, sometimes they're after, sometimes they go on forever and ever. But all of this is there. Management fundamentals. So these are some things that we use within the AWS part of the cloud. AWS Cloud Trail, AWS Config, AWS CloudWatch, AWS Shared Responsibility Model, security and compliance. So all of this stuff. Then there's identity and access management. There's billing, pricing, and support. So that's more or less all you're going to have. And then at the end of week 6, there's going to be like a full practice exam. Now this full practice exam, again, it can't guarantee you're going to pass. It's just an example. There's thousands of questions that AWS has at their disposal for their CLF C01 exam. and they rotate through questions, but they also rotate through just specific questions. Let's pretend it's 1,000 total questions, and I can't say how many it is. Then on the exam, it's going to be either 60 or 70 or 80 questions, and you have to get somewhere probably between a 75%, a 77.5%, or an 82.5% for the exam. It's possible it's only a 72.5%. But either way, whatever it is, you know, this is just an exam that's only going to have at best perhaps 6 or 7% of the total questions available. Okay, so everything is work. AWS white papers, I mentioned that they're good for like study things. They're more detailed, if you will, detailed paper, boring stuff, but important stuff. And then overview of the web services, just to make sure you know that you're a-okay. Take full practice exam one more time at the start of week 8, and then you take the certification exam on the second day of week 8, second day meaning the second class day, and then we do the same starting with the Azure. But here I said I'll be putting the Azure stuff up in week 7 of this class, so this stuff will come up later on. All right, so it's a lot of stuff, I understand, I know, but you can do it. Okay, you can do it. Will you have to work hard? Absolutely. Will you learn a lot? Absolutely. Can this make you much more employable in the future? Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. Anything in the IT world becomes important in the job world. Okay, so I'm going to end this session. It's very long. I apologize, but most of my videos go long. I think I said at the beginning of this, I would try to make it, let me stop my share. I would try to make it, I think I said maybe between 25 and 40 minutes, and I said probably it'll go longer. Well, for sure it went longer. So have a great day. I'll see you in class tomorrow, Tuesday, January 10th at 4:10 p.m. Have a great day.